Yeah. So in the last class, we ended up learning about the basics of profiling. That is the basics of Firefox profile. Right. Many people have been asking me a question that Ashish, will we be going through any project or real-time website or something like that? Look, we will be going through that certainly. Okay, we have to do a project in this course, but I'll not start with that directly. Right, I'll not start with that directly. This is because you first need to get the concepts of TestNg, JUnit or WebDriver very clear. If I don't teach you about all these things, right, about the various components, about various tips and tricks, right, there is no meaning of moving forward, right? Robinder is asking the question. We didn't receive the documents. Okay, I'll send it across the class. I'll send it across to you after the class. Okay, I'll send across the document to you. Right. So I'll go very systematically in the whole course. If I just have to do a project, then I think I'll just keep the course for 10 hours and finish off the project. Right. So okay, Sudhakar is asking me a question. Can you explain more examples in IE? Sudhakar, I cannot explain in IE because I use a server operating system for taking the online class. And in server operating system, I have got IE6. That's the problem. Okay. IE is also equally compatible. Only thing is you need to download the driver for IE, the exe file for IE, just like Chrome. After that it becomes compatible. If you don't download it, then IE gives problems. Okay. Now I'll create a new project called day 4 and we'll start with the profiling part of Firefox. That is, we'll talk about the Firefox profile. Hold on. Yeah. So what exactly is Firefox profile? We saw that day. That is, you open up Firefox and after opening up Firefox, you close Firefox from file exit menu and then go to your run and type firefox.exe -p profile manager. Okay. Again, I'll give this command to everybody on the WebEx, and when you restart this thing, when you give the command, you get the various profiles in your system. That day I had created this profile called Ashish, and this is the default profile in my system. And I told you that every profile will have its own settings. It will have the own set of you can say add-ons and all everything. Okay. Now suppose I want to tell Selenium that open the profile Ashish when you start off with the browser. Okay. And the concept of profile is only there in Mozilla. It's not there in IE. It's not there in Chrome. Okay. So if you write over here, right, I am not able to see this kind of pop-up. Are you closing the Firefox from file exit menu? If you are, well, you should be getting then. Okay, I'll have a look at it after the class. Okay, I'll have a look at it. Right. Hope you give the correct command firefox.exe space -p space profile manager. Okay, I'll have a look at it after the class. So Rubina's link and Sudhakar is right. Okay. So now, if I have to tell Selenium that open that particular profile, how do I do it? Okay. First of all, I'll include the Selenium jar files in the project build path. Alright. and I'll create a new. You didn't miss much, Mohammed. I just started. Okay. I'll create a new class. This is the first class which I am creating, called profiling. Okay. Now in this profiling, now there is an inbuilt class called profiles INI. Okay, hold on. You create the object of that class. Okay, this profile INI class, what it does is it practically represents all the profiles present on your system. Okay, it practically represents all the Firefox profiles which are present on your system. On my system currently I have got two profiles, so it will represent both the profiles. Then if you write all the object all profiles dot, you get all these functions inside the profiles INI class, all these non-static functions. Hold on, my window is stuck. Just a minute. Hold on. I'll share my desktop again. I've shared my desktop again. If my window is stuck or if you are not able to hear me, then let me know. Okay. My internet speed has gone a little slow because of the heavy rains yesterday night. Okay. We'll try to find an alternative.
I'm able to see it now, Ashish. It's good, thanks.
Right, thank you. So if you write all profiles dot get profile and you give the profile name, that is Ashish, it will give you the Ashish profile, and you take this in a class called Firefox profile prof equals to this. So this get profile function, it returns you the object of an internal class known as Firefox profile. So when you write all profile dot get profile Ashish, you get the corresponding profile. Now you can start your WebDriver. You can write WebDriver driver equals to new Firefox driver. Now how do I tell WebDriver that you have to open up this particular profile? To understand that, you should be knowing the concept of constructors in Java. Okay, so let's go back to Java language and learn about constructors and then come over to this. Fine. So constructors are quite important, especially in the frameworks as well, especially in the page object model framework and all. You're talking about the projects, right? The live projects which we'll be doing later on. In that we'll be using constructors. So just listen to this carefully about constructors. Suppose I make a class called book. Okay, and I declare a variable called name inside it and author inside it. So every book object will be created, will have a name and author associated with it. And I'll create a new class called test book. Okay, in this test book class, right, I'll create the object of the book class book b1 equals to new book, b2, b3. So b1, b2 and b3 will have their own sets of names and authors. So if I write b1 dot name is B1 and B1 dot author is A1, right? Similarly, I can initialize the B2 object. I can write B2 dot name is B2 and B2 dot author is A2, and B3 dot name is B3 and B3 dot author is A3. Now what's the problem here? The problem is that to initialize the object, what the main focus over here is that after creating the object we have to do the initializations. To do the initializations of the object, it's a very tedious thing, because for every object I'll have to initialize every property. Now this class, book class, just had how many? 2 properties, name and author, 2 non-static variables. What if it was having 10 properties, 10 non-static variables? It would be really tough. And if I am making 10 objects or 50 objects, right? So it's difficult to initialize the objects like this. So that's why we use constructors. So constructors are used to initialize objects. Constructors, they are used to initialize objects in a very easy way. Okay. First of all, you need to declare a constructor in your book class. The constructor is declared like this. You write public and the name of the class. There is no return type, nothing, and this is the constructor. Okay, public, the name of the class. Suppose if I write in it system.out.println inside constructor. If my screen is hanging or something is happening, please let me know. Okay, so this is the book constructor and I am writing inside constructor. Now if I go to my testbook.java, how many objects are creating? 3 objects are getting created, right? Whenever I write new book, okay, whenever I write a constructor, whenever I create the object, always remember the constructor will automatically be called. Okay, since I am writing 3 times new book over here, automatically 3 times that particular constructor will be called by Java. You see that? If I run this, I get this output inside constructor printed 3 times. Why? Because this object is getting created 3 times. So inside the constructor, as soon as I create the object, I can do the initialization. But for that, I will have to overload the constructor. Technically, it is known as overloading. Forget about this terminology, overloading. What you do is you write like this. It's quite simple. You write public, the name of the class constructor, and in constructor you pass on 2 parameters, string n, string author a, and you write in this author equals to a, name equals to n. So what will you pass on in this constructor? The name of the book which you want and the author of the book. So automatically author will be assigned that value, name will be assigned that value. So when I create the object now, I will create it like this. This will make my work easy. I'll write book B4 equals to new book and pass on the name and author like this. Suppose the book name is B4 and the author which I want is A4. So on the fly, while creating the object itself, I can pass the name of the book and author. Similarly, I can create as many objects, B5, B6, right, and automatically for these objects the name would become B4 and the author would become A4. There is no need to initialize the object like this. Okay, so you basically have to overload the constructor. That means make another constructor and pass on different arguments. Same name but different arguments. This concept is known as overloading. Sometimes in interviews they ask you, what do you mean by overloading? This is what overload is. Same name but different constructors, right? Different input parameters, right? So this is how you can work with constructors. This kind of constructor which is having no argument is known as, out here, this type of constructor which has got no argument, this is known as default constructor. Technically we call it default constructor, and the one which is having arguments is technically known as overloaded constructor. I can make as many overloaded constructors as possible. I can also make one more constructor like this, public book, which will just accept the name, it will not accept the author. This is again an overloaded constructor, but right. So if you want to form a book with no author, just the name of the book, you can call this constructor. Just pass on one string while calling this, and this will just take the name of the book, right? Okay, so what we do is that if you look at your profiling.java, let's come back to the original problem, that is, I need to tell WebDriver, that is, when you start the Firefox, start it up with this particular profile. This profile object is of the class Firefox profile, which is an inbuilt class, right? If you look at the documentation of Firefox driver, I have not included the documentation. Hold on, I'll just go to Google. Hold on. If you look at the Java docs on this website, and you look at the Firefox driver class, this is the Firefox driver, then this is the constructor summary of this class. There are so many constructors. Okay, one of the constructor mentioned in the end is the one which accepts the object of Firefox profile, right? So everything is mentioned in documents, everything is inbuilt. You just need to know how to read the document. You just need to know the concept of objects and object oriented programming. Okay, one of the constructors is the object is accepting the object of Firefox profile. So all you need to do is that you just need to copy this object and paste it over here. This will also work because the Firefox, this particular profile, okay, it is actually being passed over into the Firefox driver. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll close my Firefox. I'll go in my profile manager, open up the Ashish profile, and suppose what I'll do is I'll install Firebug in it, which I talked about earlier as well. I'll just tell you what I'm doing. Just hold on. Installing Firebug in it. My net has really gone slow. Just hold on for some time, guys. It just takes around 10 seconds for this thing to download and to get staying 50 seconds. Just hold on. Hope my voice is clear to everybody. If it is not clear, then let me know. So in my profile Ashish, I'll install Firebug. Okay. When I start this profile and I see this profile, I can see that there is a Firebug inside it. Okay. Now I'll close this thing, and when I run this particular program, you see that Firebug opens up, but the Firebug which has opened up is from the Ashish profile. The Firefox has opened up, and that Firefox will have the Firebug installed in it. Now you can just write the further code on and you will have the Firebug installed in it. Now this is the question which most of the people they ask me, that the browser on which the testing happens, I need Firebug on it. So you can actually get it like this. Okay, you can get Firebug like this. So the profiling is important in this way. Another example where profiling is important and we'll talk about is testing HTTPS websites. Okay, another way is using when you have to use the proxy settings for testing the website using Selenium. For that you can open a Firefox, do the proxy settings, and open that particular profile every time in which you have done the special proxy settings. There are other uses as well, but these are the major ones. And that is, you need to have the add-ons in a browser like Firebug or Firepath, in which you want to test, right? So you do it like this. Again, after that, if you write the normal WebDriver code, that is driver.get, driver.find, whatever it is you want to write, you can write, and that will successfully execute. Okay, right? Now I talked about identifying the objects with you in the previous classes as well, that is the various ways, XPath, name, ID and all. I did not talk about CSS selectors and all. I'll talk about those things, right? But the first thing which is very important in Java, which we should be knowing now, is the concept of exception handling. Okay, suppose I am writing my Selenium script and I am clicking on a button and that button is not present, right? So what will happen? The script will report an error, it will fail, and on that time itself. If I'm trying to find an element on the page and I'm trying to click on it, or if I'm trying to interact with that element, but that element is actually not present, so what I'll get an exception called no such element exception. Okay, so you need to cater to that. You need to report the errors and all, everything. You just don't need to stop your program abruptly. To understand that, you need to understand the concept of exception handling in Java, right? These all things are very important because later on in our project and all we will be using them. Okay, so I'll talk about the concept of exception handling in Java. Now suppose if I write, if this is a normal Java program, fine. If I write system.out.println A and I write system.out.println B, and in between I write int I equals to 100 divided by 2. Okay, I have written system.out.println A, int I equals to 100 divided by 2 system. It looks quite simple. Fine. If you run this code, in the output you will see A and B coming up. Fine, perfectly okay. Right. Now, if I write 100 divided by 0 over here, what's gonna happen? If I write system.out.println A, then 100 divided by 0, and B, if I run this, in the output I will get an exception. Exception is like an error. It's not exactly an error, it's like an error. It's an undesired state in which your program has actually ended. So same kind of exception comes up when the element is not found on the page. This is an arithmetic exception. It's telling you divided by 0. And the best part, always remember, okay, please don't forget this, because this is important to recognize where the error is coming. This thing tells you the line number as well on which the error comes up, on the line number 9 on exception handling.java. So many times people, they just see this kind of error and they just run away thinking that it's a very bad mistake which you have done. But if you look carefully at the error or the exception, it will tell you exactly what's the reason. So don't run away from it, just read it carefully. And if you click on this link, then this particular line will get highlighted, 100 divided by 0. Okay, and in Eclipse, okay, this is the line number. You see 9 written over here. This is the line number. If you want to actually get the line number as well, the line number is actually present at the bottom of Eclipse. Fine. Actually, guys, there's one small thing, like in Eclipse, many times what people do is, for example, they by mistake close this Project Explorer and it's gone, and they think that they have done something horribly wrong and that will never come up. It's not like that. You can reach the Project Explorer back by, you can enable it by going to Window, Show View, and enable Package Explorer or Project Explorer, whatever you want to enable. You click on it, it comes back. Fine. Or sometimes what people do, they open up console and they minimize it, or they simply close the console and then they don't know how to bring it back. Again, you can go to Window, Show View, all the panels. If you disable the panels or if you have to enable them, you can enable them from here. Or in Eclipse, there is a shortcut out here as well. These things are small, but they are quite important. On the bottom left corner, you will see this icon. Okay, if I click on this icon, you will see again the panels coming up. If I click on console, I'll see the console window or whatever it is. Fine. Okay, so sometimes people, they come to me with this question that I have closed it accidentally. How do I get back to it? Fine. Now it's okay, right? Now, so let's come back to exception. Right. So now, if you look at this program carefully, then A is printed, but B is not printed. Okay, B is not printed, but A is printed. The thing is, the line on which the exception comes up, the program terminates on that line. It simply terminates. But this is not what we want. Suppose in the first line I am opening the browser, in the second line I am going to the website, in the third line I am clicking on the link, and in the fourth line I am say doing some other operation. Okay, and suppose an object is not present on the page, the link is not present, then what will happen? This program will terminate abruptly. But I never want that. I don't want that the program should terminate abruptly. I want that in my reports an error should be reported that the link was not found or the object was not found, and the program should continue forward. Like in this case, I want A should be printed, and then error should be printed, and then B should be printed. Okay, it should not be like A and then this exception. For that, we use the concept of exception handling and try catch block in Java. What we do, we write try, put curly braces, and the curly braces, write catch, in the bracket write exception, E. Fine. Now this is the terminology, this is the programming syntax, right? The way you write it. All the lines on which you think an error can come up or an exception can come up, you keep all those lines inside a try block. Fine. Write a catch block, and inside the catch block I will write error. If an error comes up in the try block, the control will come inside the catch block, it will print error, and it will continue forward. It will not just abruptly terminate. So this way I can catch the exceptions, I can handle them. Fine. Suppose if I write 100 divided by 2. If I write like this, now no error will come up, the control will not go inside the catch block. If you run this, it prints A and B. But if you write 100 divided by 0, then an error will come up, the control will go inside a catch block. So if you run this, it prints A, error, and B. So right now we have achieved our motive, that is the error is actually not getting, the error is not forcing the program to stop abruptly. Okay. Now in the catch block, later on we will study, tomorrow I'll talk about a little bit of TestNg or JUnit with you. So out here I can report the error as well. So I'll talk about this error reporting and all tomorrow. Fine, I can report the error out here. And one more concept. Inside the try block, if I write system.out.println, suppose A1. And after this line I write system.out.println A2. Fine. So before and after the line on which the exception is coming, I am writing A1 and A2. If you run this code, you'll observe that the output is something like that. Like this, that is, hold on. A1 error and B, A2 is not printed. Okay, so always remember, in a try block, if there are multiple lines and if an exception comes up on a particular line, the line after that line will not be executed. Okay, if an exception is coming on this line, then this A2 line will not be executed. The control will directly come over to the catch block. Alright, so these all things are very important, especially in building the frameworks and all. When we are executing 200 or 300 test cases in a row, and suppose in the 50th test case there is some error and you need to report the error, so you use all these things like try catch block and all in the frameworks so to report the errors. Okay, so now what is this exception E inside the catch block? Exception is an inbuilt class inside Java. Whenever an exception comes up in the program, the object of that class is automatically formed inside the memory. Okay, and E is the reference to that object. So if I write error and I write plus E dot get message, plus is the concatenation sign. This will concatenate the error with the actual error message, which can be obtained from the exception reference. right? If I run this, this will get me the error message as well, that is divided by 0 error. So in the reports, if you want to report the kind of error you are getting, you can get e.get message and then you can send the kind of error message as well in your reports, right? How to generate the reports, I am not talking about that thing, right? I'll talk about it by tomorrow, fine. But out here, how to get the error message is important. You get it like this. And there is one more function called e.print stack trace. If you call this thing e.print stack trace and run this, this will run the complete program the way it was doing earlier, but this time it will also give me the error, the kind of error which I was getting earlier, the red lines and all everything. So this will print in the console. Okay, so now this is the concept of exception handling in Java, and this is very important. Please just go through it after the class. After the class, I'll be giving you this code as well. Okay, I'll give you a download link from which you can download this code as well as the Excel file, the mapping Excel file which we had made, I guess, on day number 2. Just a minute. So today I am little bit concentrating on Java, because without Java all these things are not possible. Selenium is completely Java. When you execute the Java code, you actually get the stuff. The program Java code runs and the browser opens and all everything. So yeah, this file which I am talking about, I'll give you this file. I think Rubina was asking me about this, right? So this is exception handling, fine. Question is, why is it printing after these? Oh, that's because of Eclipse. Don't worry about that. That's some weird behavior by Eclipse. Okay, right. So now again, another important thing is debugging the program. If you want to, if somebody has ever worked on C language or some other language, we sometimes debug the program, right? Debugging means executing the program line by line and controlling it as an end user. Okay, you can do that in Java as well. Suppose this is a line and I will double click in front of this line. When I double click, I get a blue dot over here. When I get a blue dot, you need to do it over here. Many of you might be so step by step. This is a debug icon over here. When you click on it, you get a window like this. Okay, my voice is breaking. Let's do one thing, guys. If some people are saying my voice is breaking, I have recorded around